What is going on, guys? Dayton here, aka Dr. Autoflower, back to you inside the grow room with another question and answer videos. These gotten pretty popular, so we're gonna do some more. My clones are almost rooted and I have some new Autoflower genetics on the way, so we got a new grow series gonna be happening right away. Super pumped for that. Gonna be rocking some night owl genetics. On the genetics I recommend video I put out like 2 weeks ago, a lot of people commented and said what their favorite breeders were. A lot of people said night owl is definitely one to go with. So I'm pretty pumped to be trying out some night owl genetics. It's going to be my new Autoflower run. That'll be the Autoflowers I'm going to be running in this next upcoming series. But today we're going to get into another question and answer video. We got a bunch more questions. If you've been learning anything in these videos, please smash that like button. It helps a lot. You guys have been doing an awesome job smashing the algorithm, so please hit that like button. Let's try to get over 1,000 likes on this video. Set a goal for that. Also, all the comments and questions really help. Keep putting your comments and questions down below, and they could be featured in one of the upcoming episodes, so get your questions down there. Also, if you're interested in supporting the channel and also looking for a new grow light, I can hook you up with discount codes for optic LED grow lights. I can also help you choose which grow light is best for your situation. You can get in contact with me at drautoflowerled@gmail.com or at Dr. Autoflower on Instagram. And the last thing I want to mention, I just put out a new video on my MushLoven channel. I'll be putting a link down below in the description and the comment section. So if you want to go check it out, that is my new mushroom channel. So if that is something you're interested in, make sure you go subscribe to that channel. And with that out of the way, let's get right into the episode. So Roll Me One Kenobi says, how's it going? Quick question. If I started Autoflowers in a 12x12 in a room full of photo periods that I've now finished up, can I turn my autos on 20 hours light now? Or will that screw them up and make them herm out or re-veg? So that's kind of an interesting question because he grew his autos all at 12 and 12 so far, and he's wondering if he can switch it to 20 hours of light. I definitely would. I would do that right away. Pretty much the sooner the better, because you don't want to have it on 12 and 12 too long. You're missing out on 8 hours of growth period with those plants each day, and that really adds up after a while. And if you're growing stable genetics, you shouldn't have any problem at all. The William 7606, hey man, quick question. Any experience with just using living soil for the grow and no newts? I'm using Nature's Own living soil and was planning on just using water till harvest. Do you think my plants would benefit from a nice feed later on in the grow? Thanks. I personally haven't gone full living soil like that. So if you were needing some more nutrients later on in the grow, top feeding could be a choice. Also doing organic teas, making your own brew. Organic teas is pretty much like a brewed mixture of organic nutrients that's been like sitting in water for a while. Also back in the day when I was doing more organic growing, I would use blackstrap molasses on the end of the grow. You definitely could use that too at your end of the grow. Majestic Phyllis Fouquet says, thanks for sharing your knowledge, sir. What is your opinion on MSNL and Dutch Passion Seed? So I'm not too sure about the MSNL. I don't really know what you're talking about there, but the Dutch Passion definitely has good genetics. I've run some of their autos before. All of them were good, stable genetics. They did some really nice big autos too, so they got pretty decent size. Probably some of my biggest and chunkiest autoflowers in the last like 3-4 years. So yeah, definitely got my recommendation on those guys. Larry Guran says, I was wondering why you don't use Remo nutrients. I currently am. Are they any good? Have you used in the past? Yes, I actually have used Remo nutrients. I think that was back in like 2018 or whatever. But I had great results. Probably I would say for bottle nutrients, it's definitely one of the best options to go with. I think it's a cheaper option going with that instead of advanced nutrients, what I do. But the main thing with those nutrients is you would want to pH it after you put your nutrients in. Make sure you're giving it all the right pH. You don't want that fluctuating. But definitely some of my best grows were using Remo nutrients. So it definitely has my thumbs up, and I would say very good quality. And if you want to go with some bottled nutrients, definitely Remo nutrients is a good one to go with. And I've used it for autoflowers and photo periods, and I had great results with both. So yeah, definitely good stuff. Bruce asks, what is a good LED light for a 3x5 by 7 foot tent? So that's kind of a weird size tent, I would say. Normally you would see a 2x4, but yeah, 3x5, I would definitely say go with a slim 320S, and you would probably have it a little bit higher than usual so you can have a better light spread. The slim 320S fits perfectly in a 4x2, but it can definitely cover a 3x5. You would just need a little bit higher, and your light spread should cover that whole thing. And if you're in the market of getting a light for your tent, definitely message me up. I can hook you up with a discount code and save you some money. Johnny Sanchez asks, do you see a big difference with autos growing in 3 gallons compared to 5 gallons? This is a great question. So I would probably always recommend going with the 5 gallons. It just seems like the best happy medium. You're getting large root mass, but you're not having to water like a ton. Because like once you start going bigger, like 7 or 10, I've gone up to 10 with autoflowers, and it just seems like way too much work and way too much watering. They get a bit bigger. The larger you go up in pot size, the bigger they do get, but it just seems like there's just more work involved, and it can be a little backbreaking too if you need to move those pots around. So I'm personally not a fan of it. Some people love it and they want to run bigger and bigger pots to get bigger and bigger autoflowers. You definitely could. I would say 3 gallon is the minimum you should use. You can go smaller, but then you're kind of diminishing the plant size. But I see 3 to 5 gallons is like the best happy medium. I'm actually going to be switching from 5 gallons what I normally do, and I'm going to be doing 3 gallons on this run because it's winter time, and I'm just going to be trying to cut down on the amount of water I'm giving. So by cutting down on the soil I need to fill the pot, and by the amount of water I need to water that pot, then I should be able to lower my humidity a bit and keep my grow room from like producing too much humidity, having it form on the windows, which can lead to water going down in the wood, causing molds and stuff like that. I'm trying to avoid that as much as possible. But yeah, this run I'm going to be running 3 autoflowers in 3 gallon pots, my 4x2 grow room. And once we get into spring and summer, then I'll switch it back to 5 gallons. But yeah, I would definitely say the bigger you go up in pot size, the bigger your autoflowers can get. That's not to say I've seen some really awesome looking autoflowers in like 2 gallon pots, 3 gallon pots that were bigger than a lot of 5 gallon pot autoflowers, but it kind of depends on your genetics, how you're growing, how vigorous the plant growth is, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would personally recommend going with 5 gallons if you can. One Brown Angler asks, I have really bad anxiety. I want to find a strain that makes it go away. I'm growing blackberry gum right now and she's a beauty. By the way, I don't know if it'll be good for anxiety, plus I'm a beginner. So if you're wanting a strain that's probably better for anxiety, I would get something more leaning indica, and that goes for both autoflower and photoperiod. Look for something that's more indica. You probably don't want something with high THC, so don't be looking for ones that have the highest THC out of all the others. Stick with something mediocre THC, maybe a bit more CBD in it. I've been known to have anxiety issues too. I've personally grown some really high-powered strains in the past, which would give me anxiety and make me paranoid and stuff. I remember, what was it, Jack the Ripper from Subcool. Very, very strong, very, very dank. It kind of just was a little too overpowering, and it would definitely trigger some paranoia. And yeah, those are the kind of ones you want to avoid. Personally, for me, I find autoflowers that are more indica dominant are definitely better for that kind of stuff. I'm not too sure about what exact strain you should be doing. Maybe some of the viewers out there can put their suggestions down in the comment section and we can all check it out together. If you guys know of a strain that's good for dealing with anxiety, definitely put it down in the comment section. But this question also ties into my new channel. So about 5-6 months ago, I started using mushrooms medically, and for one of the reasons was anxiety, and it has helped tremendously. Anxiety used to be something I dealt with like all the time, and since I started using mushrooms medically, it has helped so much. It just really like took a lot of the anxiety away. Even for stressful situations now, I really don't get it that bad at all. Definitely nowhere near what I was getting it before. There's also been John Hopkins studies on this, so it is becoming pretty mainstream. So if you want to check out those videos where I talk about this stuff more in depth, you can go to my MushLoven channel, and I got a video on how I used it medically. Definitely check that video out, and I think you might find some useful information there. It's not for everybody, but it really helped me. Chris Sanchez asks, is there really no point of adjusting pH? pH out of the tap comes at 8.2. I'm sure that can't be well for the plants. There definitely is a point to adjusting your pH. I would definitely recommend you do. Personally, that was one of the big issues I ran into before, where it would just cause pH lockouts and stuff like that. So I would definitely recommend, if you're not using a nutrient like I am, which is pH perfect and pretty much takes care of that for you, then you definitely need to be pHing your water after you mix in your nutrients. You check your pH and then adjust it after that. That's why I like the pH perfect, because my pH gets up to like 9.2, something ridiculous like that. So what I do is I just give a little TNB. I know how much to give it to get it down to around like 7 to 7.5. And after that, I just mix in my nutrients, and I don't really need a pH because the pH perfect kind of takes care of all that. And since I switched over to the pH perfect, it has helped me a lot. Before, when I was running like organic nutrients, usually the mess ups I had was due to my pH fluctuating and causing issues. Balsy Dean DeWitt says, dude, make sure you don't use tap water if you get it from any city or town. They use chlorine, which will mess up your seeds. I'm surprised you didn't get into this. WTF. Personally, I would say this is kind of like a micromanagement mindset. You really don't have to worry about it. I've personally never had an issue before. I've wetted my paper towel under the tap, put my seeds in. They all germinate within 24 to 30 hours. That's very fast, and I get 100% germination pretty much every single time. Or I've used a Brita filter, same thing, 100% germination, works every time. I don't even think Brita filters filter out the chlorine, so yeah, I've never had an issue with it before, never heard of anyone having an issue with it. And this happens with some people. Some people get like so into it where they think every little thing has to be perfect, and if it's not perfect, it's gonna ruin everything. I just don't have that mindset anymore. I keep things very simple, keep it easy, and it works fine for me. You guys see my grows, you guys see my results. These days I'm definitely not really into micromanaging every little thing about the grow and being really meticulous and worrying about everything. I just do what works for me and works fine, and I get great results. Alright, here's going to be a controversial one. Punk Kajas, I think I'm saying that right, it says, where have you seen proof that flush and 48 hours of darkness works and do any good? There is some research and it shows it doesn't work from what I know. So I'm pretty sure I've seen in the past where it shows that 48 hours of darkness does actually help produce more trichomes or whatever. Is it worth it? I don't know. It's up to the person. I say just do it if it works with your schedule. If you're like, oh, I want to shut off the lights now, and you're like, oh, but I don't want to harvest, yeah, just let it go for 48 hours in the dark, But if you need to chop it now, chop it. Who cares? I really don't see it as like a big issue or something you have to do or you don't have to do. Just do it if it works with your schedule. I personally don't, because I already take my plants a little bit over than what the seed breeder says to harvest them at. I just want them a bit more amber. I want my trichomes a bit more amber, so I take them a bit longer. And I don't want to risk getting mold, so I just want to chop it right away, and I don't want to let it sit longer than it needs to. Now on to the flushing part of your question. So I too have seen that research done by a nutrient company, and sorry to say, I kind of call bullshit on it all. I believe plants definitely benefit from a flush, and I do my flushes for about a month. I don't do full flushes like some people will do, a full flush where they run 3 times the amount of water to the amount of soil they have. I just don't do this anymore. I don't take it to my tub and I don't pour all the water through so all the salts go all over the tub and whatnot. I just don't want to do it. So what I do is kind of like a long period flush, where at about week 5.5, week 6, I stop feeding and I just give them pure water. I fully saturate the water. I fully saturate the buckets, get some runoff, and I do that pretty much up until harvest. And my flush can go to 3 to 4 weeks, and I definitely get better results. And people will say, well, have you done it both ways? Yes, I have done it both ways. I have tested this, and I've harvested when I didn't give them any flush at all for some, and for some I've given flush. And the ones that I flushed always came out better. The ones that weren't flush were kind of hit and miss and could be like headache strains and didn't burn that well. So it was definitely noticeable. Did it happen on every plant where it wasn't that good smoke? No, not every plant, but I have definitely had more unsmokable bud doing it that way when I didn't flush. So on to that research. That research thing was done by a nutrient company. Personally, I believe it was all a marketing ploy for them to make some controversial statements and get their name out there. It was a nutrient company I've never heard of before and haven't heard of since. And the way they did the research seemed very biased, and I just don't really believe it. At the end, they said they had people test it and give them results. And I say, who tested it? Is it just random people? Is it people who don't really know much about smoking? Were they connoisseurs? Were they just like, you know, people who just like, oh, this tastes like weed? There's people out there who can't tell the difference between different strains. People can't tell the difference between good quality smoke and bad quality smoke. I highly doubt they got some high-end, well-known connoisseurs to try it out. There's definitely people that are more sensitive to that kind of stuff and can actually tell. I'm one of those people who can really tell, like, if there's a stem in a joint, I can tell if I'm smoking stem. It just has a taste and gives me a headache. I can tell bad quality weed from, you know, good quality weed. Going to Amsterdam, there was so much over fertilized weed there where it would barely smoke because they're so used to rolling tobacco in it. And you can tell, and you can really tell when something's over fertilized compared to when something's flushed properly. Myself and many other North Americans, when we were in Amsterdam, were so shocked by the bad quality of weed over in Amsterdam. I personally would not go there just for a, you know, weed holiday for good quality stuff. I remember there was one place there that was American, and it was the only stuff that like was actually grown well and it seemed like it was flushed properly. There was lineups all around the block just waiting for that place because there's a big difference. So I always say follow the money. What's the benefit for doing that research for that nutrient company? One is getting name recognition, getting their name out there, even if it's a controversial subject. People will be talking about it and they'll be talking about, oh, did you see that nutrient company did a test on that? So right there, I see that as a marketing tactic. And then what would be the point of wanting to give nutrients all the way through? There didn't seem to be any benefit other than losing money because you're wasting nutrients. And that's about it. So I don't understand what the benefit would actually be. I believe my way is much more beneficial than that because I stopped feeding at like week 5.5, week 6 and do like a 4-week flush, and then I'm not wasting nutrients for 4 weeks. So think of how much nutrients I saved by not doing that. So yeah, and because they didn't have like some well-known connoisseurs coming on there and testing it out and saying, okay, yeah, I believe you, this is the same quality smoke as this flush stuff. I just don't believe it. It was very like, oh yeah, we gave it to our testers and they said it was just as good. It's like, who's the testers? Do they know what they're doing? Are they connoisseurs? So that's my take on that. I personally prefer to flush, and I prefer weed that's been flushed. So I think that's it for this episode, guys. If you got any questions you want on next episodes, put it down below in the comment section. Please don't just email me questions or DM me questions. It's much better that you put your questions in the comment section here. So that way the whole community can see it and we can all learn from it. And it makes it easier for me to go through and pick them for the next episodes. Make sure you smash that like button. Hit the bell if you want to get notified for my new videos coming up. Got a new grow series coming up, so stay tuned for that, guys. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe so you see all my upcoming videos. That's it for now, guys. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, peace out, and we'll catch you guys later.